Hi everyone and welcome to Matt's Music. In today's episode I'm going to be going through an epic charity shop haul that I've just come back from, and I wanted to go through some of the things that I found because I've got some tremendous music there for very, very little money. I'll go on to what I spent at the end. So I'll put out these in whatever order they happen to be stuffed in at. So the first one, we've got a best of Hootie and the Blowfish. So you've got, sort of Hold My Hands and Only Want to Be With You and all the sort of main kind of hits you'd want to have. That's 1993 to 2003, so a decade of Hootie and the Blowfish. So that's that one. Next one, the soundtrack to Series 2 of Ashes to Ashes. Those of you in the UK will probably remember that show. And yes, Ashes to Ashes was named after the David Bowie track. There was a sister series called Life on Mars, also named after the David Bowie track of the same name. So on here you've got Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure, you've got Echo and the Bunnymen, Back of Love, you've got Flock of Seagulls, Haircut 100, Phil Collins, The Specials, Human League, The Jam, New Order, Funboy 3, all sorts of really good stuff. Japan is on there. Loads and loads of great music on there, and happy to pick that up. The TV series, by the way, if you haven't seen it, is tremendous. Next up we have Sting, All This Time. This is one of his later albums, I think, 2001. But yeah, haven't got that one and very happy to have that in my collection. Next up we've got Dionne Warwick sings Baccarat, so it's all the sort of classics on that one. This one is the only CD out of all of them that actually isn't in very good condition. I did sort of check all these as I was sat having a pot of tea after I'd bought them and putting them all on Discogs and things, and this one, I don't know if you can really tell, but it is a little bit scratched. It might play, it might not, but when I tell you what I paid for all of these at the end of it, you will see why I am not the slightest bit concerned. Next up we have a Queen single. It's Too Much Love Will Kill You, and it's also got Spread Your Wings, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions. Not entirely sure when this one was relaunched. It looks sort of 90s-ish if I had to guess. 1996 this one came out on EMI. So yeah, and it's I think celebrating the Made in Heaven album by the look of it, because they've got the cover on the inside of the Freddie Mercury statue, which was used on the whatever it is here, Made in Heaven cover. It's I'm grabbing another CD with it, but yeah, it's that basically, and it's actually got the Made in Heaven, and peel everything and have a look at it. It's got the little Made in Heaven stamp on there. So this was obviously done as part of the release, because I think this came out, was it 95? So this one came out, then this one came out afterwards, perhaps as more of the sort of Queen started to gain popularity after the release of Queen's final album, after the very sad passing of Freddie in 94. So yeah, very happy to have that one. Next one, we have Mark Knopfler, Wag the Dog, should I say. Big fan of Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. I actually met his brother David once, many years ago, and he's a lovely man. Never met Mark. But this is from the film Wag the Dog with Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro, and I've never seen that film. I didn't know that it existed, but I was very happy to add some more Mark Knopflers to my collection, and it will also inspire me to go and check out Wag the Dog, see if that's any good. I should imagine the soundtrack at least will be half decent. Right, next up we've got Alternative Acoustic. This is just a sort of compilation CD, but there's all sorts of stuff on there. Small Faces, Nick Drake, Paul Weller, Eddie Brickell, what else? Van Morrison, Stone Roses, Susan Vega, Tim Buckley, Ryan Adams, Elvis Costello, Traffic, Free, all sorts of people on there. So yeah, cool. Very happy to have that. Next up we have Rum, Sodomy and Lash by the Pogues. I've only got a couple of Pogues albums, so I was particularly delighted to find this one because I didn't have it. So chuffed with that. Next up we have another one which isn't in perfect condition. The actual CD in it is all right, but CD singular rather than plural, because it is, as you can see, missing one of the CDs. It's only actually got disc 1, disc 2 is missing, but this one, it appealed to me because it's called A Beginner's Guide to Jazz Funk, and I don't know much about jazz funk, but I like funk and I like jazz, and I would imagine that I would like it. So I like things like this because it gives you a little sort of toe in the water to check out some artists, and then anything you find on there that you like, you can then go down those rabbit holes. So it's always nice to find stuff like that. Next up, Bonnie Raitt. Don't know too much about Bonnie Raitt's discography at all, but I found a couple of Bonnie Raitt CDs in there, so I picked this up and I will give it a listen. So yeah, this one is Nick of Time. Came out I think 80s. 89, so I'll check that out and see what that's like. Next up we have Barry Gibb, solo album in the now. Yeah, like the Bee Gees. Very distinctive voice, obviously, old Barry, and I think he wrote all his own songs on this one. Well, Barry, Steve and Ashley Gibb, it's the Gibbs. It's the Gibbs doing their thing. Apparently this one was quite well reviewed when it came out. Next up, we've got Hootie and the Blowfish, musical chairs. Starting to find a few Hootie and the Blowfish CDs in charity shops. I found one the other day, which I was delighted with, and there's a couple in here, which I'll come to. Haven't really sort of seen them turn up. Not in the charity shops around here anyway, but anyway, I was very happy to find that one. Next up, we've got the Dubliners, the solid gold condition, 36 Irish favourites. So yeah, that's a party in a box right there. So yeah, it's got Rocky Road to Dublin, the Wild Rover, High Reel, McAlpin's Fusiliers, Hot Asphalt, Cook in the Kitchen. I mean, just, you know, good stuff. Very happy to find that. Another one I was delighted to find, because I don't have very much Roxy Music or Brian Ferry in my collection, and so this Platinum 3 CD set is a great sort of slug of Brian Ferry in a nice, convenient, handy package. So had to find that. That tops up a little bit of my collection there, because I didn't have very much. Next up, this lovely Bonnie Raitt box set. It's just an EP, I think. There's only, I think, 2 or 3 tracks on it. Can't Make You My Love, Right Place, Wrong Time, and Good Man, Good Woman. But the Right Place, Wrong Time is a duet with B.B. King. So I was super happy to find that, because I love B.B. King. So yeah, really cool, and it gets me into Bonnie Raitt. That was the first one I found. I found that one, and then I found Nick of Time afterwards, a bit further down. So I was like, oh sweet, okay, I can immediately add more to my collection. Right, next up we've got the Bar Men Who Let the Dogs Out. I remember the single being everywhere when it came out. It was pretty entertaining, and this is an album with a whole bunch of other stuff. Who Let the Dogs Out is track 1, and then there's all kinds of other stuff. I don't know. Year 2000. What can be said? Probably a bit of fun. Who knows? I shall find out. Right, next up, I've been trying to sort of get a little bit of a blues collection going, and I don't have very much. I bought some Lightning Hopkins the other day, getting into some Muddy Waters. I bought Electric Mud on eBay recently. Got a little bit of B.B. King, not very much though. Howlin' Wolf, I've got a couple of his, not very much. And I found this guy, Blind Willie Johnson, Dark Was the Night. Don't know anything about Blind Willie Johnson, if I'm completely honest, but I assume you must be a blues player on the basis it's called Blind Willie Johnson. You can't be anything else in life. You're not going to be a dentist or a milkman or a postman or a carpenter. If you're called Blind Willie Johnson, you're obviously going to be a blues singer. Yeah, the thing on the back says Mojo Working Blues for the Next Generation, in fact. So yeah, very interested to check that out. Next up, we have the very best of the Bee Gees. So going along with the Barry Gibb album, don't know if they were donated by the same person, but yeah, all kinds of stuff. Got a message to you. New York mining disaster 1941, To Love Somebody, Massachusetts, How Deep Is Your Love, More Than a Woman, Staying Alive, Night Fever. I mean, you know, everything you could want, basically, on that. So happy to have that one. Next up, we have Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Again, I've got a little bit of Buddy Holly, but not very much. And this is a beautiful 4-disc collection. So, I mean, you know, that's pretty much. I mean, he wasn't very old when he died, so I can't imagine there's very much on there that's missing, frankly. I don't know a huge amount about his discography, but it's got 6 classic albums plus bonus singles and session tracks, digitally remastered and enhanced for superior quality. So, I mean, Christ, I don't know how many albums he put out, but in his it's very sadly short career, I don't know how many it was, but I'd be surprised if there's much missing from that set. Right, next up we've got Tom Waits, Asylum Years. Yeah, again, really happy to have that. I've only got one other Tom Waits CD. which I don't know if I can find right now because I haven't got my glasses on. There we go. Yeah, so I bought this the other day on eBay, Beautiful Melodies, and that's wonderful. I listened to that already 2 or 3 times, been a fairly regular rotation. Love Tom Waits, that was the first album I got of his for my collection, so I was very happy, and now to add Asylum Years to it, I was very pleased with. So yeah, absolutely delighted with that one, and absolutely brilliant find. Right, next we've got the Cars, the Definitive. So yeah, really good. Haven't got any Cars in my collection either. Yeah, this one seems to go for sort of, more money on Discogs than I was expecting. I mean, not, thousands, nothing ever does for CDs, but, it's sort of, I don't know, 16 quid or something as an average price, which surprised me. Perhaps they're harder to find than you might think. But anyway, very happy to find that. Right, next up we have Pull the Other One by Big in Littlington. Now, I'm sure all of you will be absolutely familiar with the entire discography of Big in Littlington. If you live within a 4-mile radius of where my flat is, I live in a town called Royston, and the next town over, this village over, is called Littlington. There's about 2,000 people that live in it, and they're Big in Littlington. It says so right there on the CD, so how could I leave that behind? Obviously some local band. I don't know anything about this in any shape or form, but nevertheless I have it, and I'm very pleased to do so. I always like to find local bands. It's always interesting. Right, the Hooters. Hooterisation or retrospective. Don't know anything about the Hooters, but this apparently from their 1985 breakthrough hit, And We Dance, flow with mandolin and hooter, Jamaican slang for the harmonica keyboard hybrid. So, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like maybe reggae type stuff. No idea. I'm interested to check it out. It looked interesting, kind of sort of psychedelic cover. Children with sort of like acid trips in the background. I don't know exactly what they've been smoking, but at any rate, it looks interesting enough to pick it up. Right, now, next up we have Chicago Blues, an absolutely essential 3D collection, and yeah, again, it just goes back to me just trying to sort of get into blues. And when you get into something, it's nice to have these type of collections to give you a bit of an idea about what's out there and who's good. So it's got some Muddy Waters, Howley Wolf, Sully Boy Williamson II, Buddy Guy, Walter Horton, Jimmy Reed, Jimmy Rogers, Otis Rush, Willie Dixon, Billy Emerson, Eddie Boyd, Junior Wells, and all sorts of stuff on there. There's 3 CDs in that of Chicago Blues, so delighted. Right, up next we have Still Waters from the Bee Gees. I thought I probably had, there we go, the best of the Bee Gees. We've got Still Waters by the Bee Gees as well. So this, Alone, With My Eyes Closed, Irresistible Force, Closer Than Close, it's really good, Miracles Happen, Smoke and Mirrors, yeah. Good, happy to have that. Right, the Divine Comedy. I like the Divine Comedy. I don't know if this is necessarily one of their earlier ones. Yeah, 2000 and something. It's got very small writing on it, but certainly in the 90s, I really liked quite a lot of their stuff. So happy to add this to my collection. I'm very happy with that. Right, next up we have the best of Scott Walker and the Walker Brothers, 1965 to 1976. Got to be honest, don't know much about, or frankly anything about Scott Walker and the Walker Brothers, so I thought I'd pick it up. They look kind of, interesting, slightly Queen-esque cover with the faces and the shadows like that. But yeah, and this one came out perhaps a little bit before, so who knows if they stole the idea or Queen stole the idea from them, or 2 people came up with the idea at the same time. Who knows? Right, next up we have Jules Holland's solo piano. This was an interesting one. There's no barcode or anything on the back of it, and it seems to go for a reasonable amount of money on Discogs. Sort of, I think they were selling for sort of, again, 15, 20 quid, that sort of thing. So perhaps a little bit harder to find. This came out in '94, so I think he was already doing stuff on the telly with the Jules Holland Hootenanny and all that sort of stuff round about then. But probably not too much before then. So this is maybe one of the I don't know precisely when he started doing stuff on the telly, but perhaps that came out about the same time he started doing that. And I love Jules Holland and piano. His piano playing is really good. Another Bonnie Ray album. This one is Longing in Their Hearts. So I will be looking forward to checking that out as well. Not sure when this one came out. Maybe about, I don't know, perhaps a little bit later by the look of it. It looks like a sort of slightly more modern CD. So perhaps into the 90s or 94, there we go, 94, there we are. So the other one I think was 89, so a little bit later. Very happy to find this. So Bob Dylan, The Times They Are Changing. I'm slowly building up my Bob Dylan collection. I think I've got about 12 studio albums of his so far and a couple of sort of greatest hits collection type things. The Times They Are Changing I did not have, and so to find that in a charity shop in really lovely condition as well was absolutely tremendous. I mean, that CD looks absolutely mint to me. So I was delighted by that. Next up is Genesis. It's not a studio album. It came free with the Mail on Sunday, which is a newspaper in this country renowned for telling all sorts of lies and falsehoods about people and generally stirring things up. But they do, or they did at any rate, back in the heyday of CDs, put out quite a lot of CDs and DVDs free with the Sunday supplements, and this looks to be one of those in some really bizarre orange coloured sort of CD-ROM case. I don't know if that was original or not. Right, next up we have, and we're getting towards the bottom of the barrel, so anybody that's still with me on this video, I appreciate you sticking around. This one is Hootie and the Blowfish again. This one's Cracked Rear Window. CD inside looks in pretty decent condition. However, it is missing the rear, but again, for the price I paid for it, not going to shed a tear. Next up, we've got the Red Hot Chili Peppers, greatest hits. I do have, I think, most of their studio albums, but a greatest hits one is always nice to have as well, just to throw on as well. And then, yeah, finally in the box, we've got another Pogues album, which I was very happy to find, again, to add to my Pogues collection. And this one is If I Should Fall From Grace With God, which again I didn't have. So that's it. I was very, very happy with that haul, and if I tell you, hopefully the receipt is still in the bottom, what I paid for all of that. I think I counted about 30 odd, I can't remember, I've forgotten already, but 30 odd individual discs, and of course some of those are like that, is like there's 4 in there, and there are sort of some triples and stuff like that as well. And I paid the princely sum of £13 and 78p. I don't know if you can see that because it might not focus. But anyway, take my word for it. £13 and 78p. And I remember back in the 90s, as a teenager, buying CDs for the first time, you could easily spend that on one. So I was delighted. Right, that's it. Please leave in the comments below your CD hauls and what you've found recently. It's always nice to know what other people are digging out there. It is amazing, you know, people seem to see this stuff more or less as land waste, and they're just dumping them into the charity shops. The charity shops are giving them away practically free. These are 49p each, but if you buy 3, you get the third for free. So they're effectively like 33p each for all of these. I think for the sets, I think I paid a little bit more, like £1 or £2, but amazing. Right, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. As always, please like, comment and subscribe because it gives me that dopamine hit that makes me think that somebody out there is paying attention and likes what I do, and that's I'm an attention seeker, and that's basically all I'm doing this for. I shall see you next time. Adios.